if the Camry is ever going to be replaced, before it just freaking explodes, this winter might be it. Because it's starting to get a bit chilly. Like, even just... I got to turn the heat up. And I'm setting myself up for, just cold, because I'm dieting into winter. Like, for me to do a winter bulk is actually pretty nice, because you're full of energy because you're eating so much food. And, then you've also got the thermogenic effect of food, where just physically from eating, you're going to start to heat up for that process of digestion. Like, I'd be riding my bike to a class, and right before I went, I just slammed, I don't know how many grams of carbs and like protein worth of steak or whatever. And like, it's 10 degrees out, and I'm sweating, in a jacket, but just because I got so many, just kilojoules or kilocalories of energy flowing through me. But yeah, it's starting to get pretty cold. Like, if you were watching any of the videos of the deeper prep earlier this year, I was getting in the car with I was wearing, and I was training at a gym that was freezing, so I was doing 2 pairs of sweatpants, a hoodie, shirt, and a jacket, and I had to put gloves on in the car just because it was so freaking cold. And I tried to get around that by ordering a auto start kit of like a thing that you'd plug, you'd rip your underside dash open and then plug in this thing. It was like $100. Could not figure it out, and I think I still have it sitting somewhere just because I couldn't. You really got to get in there. I mean, you look like you're hot wiring a car just by trying to get that sorted. But so far, it's not frozen tundra temperatures yet, so we are still good. We are still solid. But yeah, playing for today with chest beyond just getting pumped. Well, actually, that's kind of most of it, right? I mean, I don't need to be loading 4 plates on incline Smith or anything too kind of crazy like that. All I really want to do is finish this lift knowing I did maybe 7, 8 good solid sets, and instead of a 50-50 of really heavy and then lighter squeezing burning, which is like my normal ratio, I think when I diet down, that ratio is going to change to more like a 80-20, maybe even like a 90-10, just because when I'm bulked up with 315 on the rack, well, I'm asking for a good set. But if I'm dieted down, I'm sub 250 right now, potentially asking for trouble, and that's the last thing I want. The last thing I want is to tweak, pull, or anything in between. So I'm going to balance that caution with the throwing to the wind of still getting after it every set, as though I don't even have another one, because this is it. I don't see it talked about, but I know that, and I've been there, especially on some leg days. I've definitely had days where my recovery was off mentally. I had whatever kind of shit going on that was kind of distracting me and wasn't, letting me focus as hard, where you actually start thinking oh, okay, how many more sets do I have left? Or you're looking at the clock as though it's like, okay, how much longer until I'm done? And I don't think any really good workouts get done like that. Like, to have that thought in your head of just, okay, God, when is this going to be over? You've already failed, because that's not the point. It's not this thing to endure. Like, you're not sitting in a sauna where all you have to do is sit there and not move or just sweat and experience it. Like, the difficulty is internal. It's your own exertion. So if you've already got the headspace of, oh God, I just want this lift to be over, is that a good workout? Right? Basically never. And it's that's not something that you can just flip a switch and forget about. That's like telling someone who's actually having a terrible day, validly, reasonably terrible, and saying, look, man, look on the bright side, bro, just be happy. And this isn't a Disney movie. So if you're already coming in the gym and you've set yourself up for failure, where you're like, fuck, God, I'm so over this right now. And guys who love the gym have that sometimes, especially if they didn't sleep well, they were busy, you know. If you get in your mind like, okay, I'm gonna go work out at 8 o'clock tonight, it's gonna be awesome, and then somehow you get like a random schedule change and it's like, oh, I gotta work out right now, yeah, that can throw you off, right? That can throw you off. And obviously first world problem, like, oh, I didn't get to work out when I wanted today, but you get what I'm kind of saying. So what I take from that is, all right, well, if I don't want to have a shit workout and I don't want to feel like I'm just itching to get out of the gym and I want to have fun, well, I better make sure I slept enough and drank enough water. Like I got a bunch of just random zero sugar, like electrolyte kind of water bottles, or I'll just get regular water bottles and add electrolytes. But I made sure to slam a liter of those before now, an hour ago, just to make sure I was fully hydrated. Because, in the moment I'm thinking like, oh, this is a lot of water. But right now I'm thinking, oh, well, shit, I want to be fully hydrated so I can be fully pumped and enjoy the workout. So it's just understanding that setting yourself up well will make you perform that much better. And it's not like negligible, like you'll perform a little bit better. Like night and day changes. And not only subjective enjoyment of these workouts on a workout by workout basis, but also your overall gains in general. Like I want most of my lifts to essentially just flash before my eyes, right? Because if I slept well and I'm hydrated and I'm in the zone and I'm really focused and excited about what I'm doing, well, what's the saying? Time flies when you're having fun. Like a lot of my best workouts, basically nothing else even enters my mind. You get into this zen, I don't want to say flow state, because that's more of like a kind of locked in sort of deal. But in a way, you just get in this headspace where nothing else matters. You're in the moment. There's nothing else getting at you. You're listening to your music. You can scroll a TikTok at it. I'm not saying that you're totally like, you're not looking at anything. But you just, the only things that cross your mind are, all right, let's warm up. All right, I'm warm. Let's get this shit. And then you do your set, you put it down, you say, all right, all right. That was a good one. All right, let's do it again. That repeats for as many sets as you have for the workout. Then it finishes with at least, most likely a little bit of a pump check. Even if you don't want to do a full-on pump check, you still know you're pumped just because you can feel it. And you're like, yeah, that was a good one. And then you get in the car and you're like, nice. Things are going your way. And that feeling of like, man, shit's just all working out right now. Nice. That feels like it's luck. That feels like things all just lined up perfectly for me today. Awesome. But what really happened? And you set yourself up well. The preparation matched the performance, you see. So it's just think about that next time you're up at 2 a.m. or you didn't drink any water except for like one Coke Zero that you got in the vending machine on your way to a different class or school or whatever. Because those things add up, And guys who kill it, like the top kind of guys we're looking at, like a Lex Little, his squat is insane. Like he's throwing around 6 plates, not for like a full 10 reps or anything, but like 6. When I see anything over 4, that's nuts. Like, so any of these guys who are really getting after it, you can tell that they have a value system that is matching what their goals are, right? So just keep that in mind. It's the kind of non-flashy, behind the scenes, maybe some would say boring stuff that will let you perform super well at the end. Do you know how many, and I don't know, I'm just saying this as an example, but you know how many hours dudes sat at just fucking computers testing steel, doing like endurance tests and tension tests and like design and simulations and just random, like the most boring computer work you could ever imagine in your life? You know how many hours of that added up to a goddamn fighter pilot doing like a 360 in the air maneuver, shooting rocket launchers, and then doing this awesome like drill show of force? I mean, the ratio is insane. Like with or how many just dribbling drills and runs that every NBA star or football quarterback or receiver or anything, like it's got to be 100 to 1. maybe even 1,000 to 1 of preparation to performance. And right, that's the issue. I think we can all imagine nobody really gets props for preparation. You know, there's no flash, there's no flex, there's no anything. Some people get inconvenienced by the fact that you're really prepping yourself for something, because in their mind they're like, oh, dude, come on, you always work out, bro. Oh, really? Or like the guys that bring a food scale to the restaurant so that they can actually see how much food they're eating. Like, for the regular guy, they see that and they go, oh, what are you doing, man? Right? And that's just a blatant, you know, even though they might not say it explicitly, that is just a blatant, I don't care what your goals are, what are you doing? You know? And if you've got any kind of like backbone for knowing that this is what you want to do and you're going to do what it takes to get there, well, then that shouldn't throw you off your game, right? If anything, if you're maybe if you're that kind of guy, you can spin it back and you know, ask the dude why he needs 80 grams of fat worth of you know, boneless chicken wings with, you know, 200 grams of carbs worth of breading, when you know the guy hasn't got his heart rate over 90 beats per minute, except for when he's sitting there playing League of Legends until, like, you know, 4 a.m. every night. Right, you know, that's not meant to be mean. Like, I hope I didn't call anybody out just there, but yeah. Getting back to what we're really doing today. Yeah, chest is gonna be good. Chest is gonna be freaking good, and noon should be pretty much dead. I wouldn't anticipate much of anybody getting after it right now, which is a-okay with me, because that means I don't have to wait for anything. You know, like, I can handle a busy gym. I don't walk into a busy gym and say, fuck. But it's definitely nicer if it's a little more open, and, you know, you can just kind of pick whatever you want. You can be in a little more of a free state of your workouts and development. But now I'm getting caught in a ramble, so let's just get this workout started for real. Okay, this will be good. So even though this is 4 plates, this is a manageable 4. So this is going to be a squeezing set. Like, I think there's a very defined difference between a heavy set of pressing where physically doing the rep is difficult enough and you can only do like 12 or something. But here, the weight I'm pulling back a touch so that I can get into it more. So at the top, when I'm fresh, I want to have an extra squeeze and hold. And then by the time I can't hold it, then I can do regular reps, and then I can do partials, and then I can decide, you know, when have I done enough. And I don't want to call it early, but let's get something playing here. All right. Okay. Oh, okay. I can see 2 more of those. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, one more. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. All right, I've had a little bit of a longer rest period than normal. Let's start some, well, decently hefty flies. But these are gonna be a two-parter. So flies essentially till burned out, and then transition to a bent over press. All right. Okay, that's all. Let's see how we're looking. All right, let's see how we're looking. So, what was that? 3 sets of decently heavy baseline pressing to start. I mean, you know, not including the warm up, but 3 sets, followed by 2 sets of cable flies supersetted into cable press to burnout, followed by 1 semi-squeezing set of basically just flat minor incline chest press, and that's all. So I mean, what was that? So 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so 6 total sets. And honestly, I feel pretty freaking pumped. All right, let's see if visually that, you know, that's actually the case. But yeah, it's not so tricky in a dieting sense to maintain. The actual hard part is, you know, really sticking to the diet that's inducing the, you know, body fat burning that I'm actually after. So let's see. I was just having a talk with one of my buddies about how now I don't really have to lift so heavy. I can kind of chill a little bit, and just because the point isn't, you know, insane weight. The point is actually like, you know, stimulating lifts whilst maintaining size as I get leaner. But the more my waist tapers in, the more aesthetic I'm starting to feel. I wouldn't really describe myself as aesthetic, but as I get leaner, I'm definitely on the more aesthetic end than when I'm like fully bulked. Oh my goodness. Oh man, we're getting there. Morning weight, 247. So certainly not too hefty. By the time I'm down in the 240s, I'll be feeling pretty dangerous. But it's gonna be a while until then, so you know, I'm not gonna get caught up like thinking of that, like, oh, I'm not gonna be happy till I'm 240. Oh, I'm not gonna be happy till I'm 230.
Like the idea that, I mean, obviously we're all in the gym to make progress, right? To reach goals. But the idea that some people get where it's like, I can't be happy until I achieve my goal, as though that makes any sense in the freaking world, is just totally nuts. Like, when I see these bodybuilder guys basically say, you know, they're kind of thinking back to the heyday, you know, not in like a mean kind of sense or anything, but yeah, I mean, it's, if your peak career was X years ago, then yeah. But they look back and they basically say, like, you know, I was never satisfied. Like, I was never happy with how I looked. I always knew I could do more. Like, I always knew I had more to tank. I was never lean enough. I was never big enough. And like, you know, that's kind of cool. Like, I think we can all agree there's kind of like a coolness sense, because for them to say that, like, elevates their bar. Because it's like, even though I'm already this big, in my mind, that's not enough. But that's just not cool. That sucks. Like, I never want to think like that. I don't want to think, oh, you know, that's a good side chest. I don't know. I kind of look like shit. Like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. That's high level dysmorphic thoughts. Now, sure, I guess, you know, you got to go to that place for that kind of motivation at that high level. And it's like, you know, who are we to critique who was at the time the best in the world? But the mentality just isn't cool. Like, you know, like, imagine if Michael Phelps was sitting here with 10 gold, or, you know, what, 40 gold medals on or something, and he's like, you know, my swimming career was actually shit. I could have done way better. That's just not how it happens, right? That's not a cool take, even though it might feel cool to say. Like, I want to leave the gym basically satisfied with where I'm at and what I did and where I'm headed, because I know I'm on track for the goals I want to achieve, right? When I look at myself pumped right now, and I'm hitting a side chest, and I'm like, or, you know, I'm doing like just a whatever, I genuinely feel like my level of mental satisfaction, like dopamine release, is exactly the same as it was when I was a 160-pound version of myself, you know, doing the same side chest shot in my high school weight room bathroom in the mirror. Like, yeah, nice. Like, that shit doesn't change, you know. To be pumped means you're just a little bigger and a little cooler looking than normal in one muscle group. So the enjoyment of that doesn't matter if you're 300 pounds or if you're 140 pounds. So the idea that, you know, you reach a certain level and somehow, like, you're better than somebody else, or, like, that's not the point, you know. Obviously, we're in a world where we're kind of always in competition with everyone else. Like, it's always a comparison game. Like, there's no getting around that, at least in a minor sense. But I think you're gonna have a better time if you focus on a you versus you, just for consistency's sake and probably your own enjoyment's sake. Because imagine if in my mind, I 100% truly believed, like, oh, I'm not as big as Derek Lunsford, and then I put my hoodie on and I, like, groveled off. Like, that would suck, right? These people are them and I'm me, and that's how I want it to be, right? So take that with what you will. Or if you think that's a bunch of nonsense, then that's okay too. But let's get in the car. All right, that was good. That was good. I'm getting very excited for the coming months, but also the coming weeks. Because I'm actually starting to feel and see the effects of the cardio, of the calories, like, over the last 2 weeks. And sometimes I'm not sure if it's just a mental perception thing, or if maybe it's like the fact that I just did get leaner to a degree. But one thing that I've noticed about dieting down under that 15% body fat percentage and below, so going from like 15 to, I think for the last show I did, I wasn't like a 4%. That is really lean. I was definitely a 7,
I might have been around that 7 range. I don't know, something like that. But what I'll notice is you don't really feel leaner in a very linear sense. Like sometimes I'll feel like, you know, I'm not getting leaner at all. Like I'm just stuck. Like I'm in the same spot as I was, like, you know, weeks ago. But over the last 2 weeks, I could like just in the gym, like looking at myself, I can say like, ooh, I'm starting to feel leaner. Like I'm starting to think that I'm leaner visually. So I'm sure some of that is just a mental game. But it's also just, I'm sure there's like little, like you don't really start seeing extra veins or anything until a certain percentage. And you might not start seeing like striations and different separation until a certain percentage. So what that tells me is, you know, I'm almost coming into the gym every day for a gift and a surprise, because I don't know what part of me is going to look extra freaky than last time. And that's probably one of the cooler, or that's just a cool part about doing my workout split right now. It's not a bro split. Like when we say bro split, that means one body part per week. That means that Monday's chest day, then back day, then arm day, then leg day, then whatever day, then shoulder day, and just one body part a week. That's what we refer to as a bro split. So what I've been doing is everything twice every 8 days. So technically not twice every week, but twice every 8 days, which I mean, it's only 1 day more. That's, you know, that's like taking a Tylenol every 4.5 hours instead of every 4 hours. I don't think you're really throwing off your results. But everything twice a week like that. So chest, and then back, and then arms, and then legs, and then chest again. So every chest day, there's 3 days in between. So in the process of those 3 days, you know, 3 days of cardio and calorie tracking and, you know, some fat burning, I'm gonna look different every chest day. You know, not super crazy substantially different, but a little bit different. And, you know, that just gets me excited, you know, because that's the point. Like if we're being honest with any, I don't even have to say if we're being honest, but with any goal seeking endeavor of like, okay, I want to reach this level, I want to be able to do this thing, I want to be able to say I can whatever. Probably the most gratifying part is feedback objectively that what you're doing is working. You know, I'm sure somebody feels like a badass when they're learning to play guitar and then they can finally really play a song that they like, that they've always imagined themselves playing, and now they can do it. Or lifting, right? 2 plates, not only just 2 plates for the first time, but 2 plates on bench for reps, potentially a 400-pound deadlift, but you know, whatever. Hitting 200 pounds on the scale. I remember the first time I did that. And just as a clarification, when I said, like, I mandate a bulk to 200 pounds, which, you know, I was kind of in jest a little bit, just because, you know, being a 200 pounder was like a joke at the time. But I did not mean 200 pounds with like an extra 40 pounds of body fat. Like that, I didn't mean bulk in that dirty of a sense, right? 180 lean is objectively better than 200 with an extra 20 pounds of body fat, if those were the end results, right? So just take that how it is, right? Use some context clues for anyone who sometimes, you know, takes that and kind of runs with it a little bit. But you know, it's just those little things where you can see, like, you're not just thinking like, oh, I'm getting pretty good. Like, you can tell things are happening. And that just gets me amped. Like, as hard as this diet is going to be, it will be more fun for me to see the results that I get from it than the difficulty of, you know, not being able to stop at Cane's or Wendy's or get a bunch of like Welch's fruit snacks all the time or anything else like I can eat when I'm bulking up. Because my desire for that leanness beats my desire for all those treats. At least, you know, on average. I will have some refeed days here and there, because, you know, you can use those to your advantage and basically use them as a, you know, chance to kind of get your fill of, you know, sweet foods. But certainly not a lot. You know, if somebody's having a cheat day every 3 days, well, guess what? You're not dieting. You know, it's just not going to work. But yeah, so I'm getting pretty excited. I can pretty sure imagine that I'm going to be slightly freakier, leaner in exactly 1 month's time by, when's that going to be? November 20 something? Well, that'll be good, right? That will be good anyway. But yeah, that'll be fun. So as long as I know that I, eat my steady X thousand calories per day, which I know I am because I'm tracking it all, and doing my 30 minutes of cardio, which at this point is not a huge challenge for me because I've done it so much, well then guess what? I'm freaking good. All I got to do is stick with it and wait. So that will be the plan. I'm gonna go home, get some food in me, play with the dog, and I'll see you tomorrow.